Record, share screen. All right. So now I don't know how to put this back. All right. So we're going to get started here. We're going to go through a few things tonight. I want to just kind of get some of the housekeeping out of the way. And so what I mean by that, I really appreciate you guys doing this challenge. I'm taking the opportunity, if you guys saw my post on Facebook, I'm going to take the opportunity to do it with you. I've kind of fallen off the wagon, and I grew up overweight, and actually have done a bodybuilding competition, so I've leaned out and all that sort of stuff too. So as many of you know, it's not necessarily the lack of knowledge that we have, it's sometimes the accountability that we lose. And I live the same life you guys do, very stressful and busy and kids and all that sort of stuff. So I'm in the same boat you guys are. So I need the accountability as well. So I've decided that, I need the kick in the butt here too. And I'm going to do this with you guys. So as far as how this challenge is going to work, this is, while we're all here to lose some weight, the reality is we want to focus on more than that. We want to focus on making a healthy lifestyle change and creating habits so that way you guys can continue this success well beyond this challenge. So what we're going to do in order to reward individuals for success will not be just simply who lost the most weight. We're going to look at all the things necessary to create habits. So for example, we're going to assign point systems to doing different things. Every time you check into the gym, you're going to get a point, for example. Every time you go to a fit class, you'll get points. We want you guys to engage the community out on our Facebook group. So I don't expect you guys to take pictures of yourselves in bathing suits and put them out there. I'm a little nuts, so I did it. But if you guys just share your stories, Zipporah was nice enough to share a little bit about her story, and that's awesome. It's nice to get to know the people we're helping support. So if you guys are able to do that, I'd appreciate it. Or even just posting recipes or anything. You're going to earn points for doing that. You're also going to get points for supporting others in the group. So if you respond to it, continue to comment on anything they comment on. Kim and I are going to be monitoring that and getting points for that. We're also going to assign points related to, obviously, weight loss, body fat percentage is a big one, inches lost, and so on. Also, you should be receiving starting tomorrow, well, actually today, you probably received an invitation to Habit Catalyst. Make sure that you have your account all set and ready, because tomorrow you're going to start getting educational emails about the first habit. And you're going to also receive emails and or push notifications about various habits that you have to instill. So you need to respond back to the system and say that yes or no, that you accomplished that task. You will then, the system will accumulate your responses and put together your compliance score. So whether you were 50% compliant or 80% compliant, we're going to assign points for those who are higher compliance, because we know in the long run, that's what's going to really keep you guys successful in the long run. So again, I'm not going to go through every little piece of how you're going to earn points, but at the end of the day, you're going to get points for doing all the right things. We haven't decided if we're going to take points away for doing bad things. Not that you guys are going to share it with me. When it does come to Habit Catalyst, it is a little bit of the honor system. You can lie and you can say, yes, I did all of these things. But at the end of the day, if that really does not work along with your results and all the other things we're looking at, clearly we'll know you're probably embellishing a little bit on your answers. So honesty is the best policy, because we'll know. So this call we want to do, does anyone have any questions on how this is going to work so far? No? Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is move on to carbohydrates. So I'm going to share my screen here. So hopefully you guys did get the download. Shoot, hold on. There we go. All right, so I did email this out to you guys. You can follow along. If you did not get that, let me know. I can re-email it. Probably went out about 3 o'clock, 3:30 today. So I think carbohydrates is a big thing we need to really address. There's a lot of myths and misnomers about carbohydrates, and we're going to hopefully dispel some of them tonight and really show the importance of eating these things. So carbohydrates, there are 3 macronutrients that are necessary for us to eat. Carbohydrates is obviously one of them, protein and fat. Please understand that you must eat all 3 of these in order to lose weight. Yeah, you heard that right. Low carbs and low fats does not equal weight loss, okay? So it is absolutely important for us to eat these things, but understand they're all not created equal. So we're going to clean up the ones that we're eating at the end of the day. So carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. Protein also has 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9, okay? So alcohol only has 7. So if you have a choice between eating bacon and vodka, go with the vodka. No, I'm kidding. But understand, fat does have 9 calories per gram. So if you think about this, as your body starts to utilize fat stores for its primary fuel source, which is obviously our goal, you'll actually increase twofold your amount of energy you have. So I know there's kind of a misnomer that as people are really cutting their calories, that they really get lethargic and tired. Well, that's true in the long run, but in the beginning, you'll actually feel a kind of a bump in energy, which is awesome. Now, we just have to make sure through exercise and proper dieting that the body continues to utilize fat stores as its energy source and that it does not start to eat away muscle. And that's where bad things start happening. If you're not exercising, not strength training, and giving your body a reason to maintain its muscle, the body will eat away its muscle in the process. So again, why are carbohydrates important? It's the primary energy source. So what happens when you eat carbohydrates? The body converts carbohydrate into glucose, okay, or glycogen. Glycogen is stored primarily in the muscle and in the liver. It is also the primary source of fuel for the body's the brain function, as well as your central nervous system. So without it, we see people that go into a state of ketosis, which is an extended period of time below 30 grams of carbohydrates. You actually begin to lose your short-term memory. You kind of get very forgetful, can't think straight, very difficult to kind of sit behind a desk and do accounting and that sort of stuff. So your brain is absolutely, it's a necessity for carbohydrates with the brain. So what happens is, obviously you're reading here, once the capacity of the muscle and the liver cells fill up, the excess sugars are converted into the fat cells. So this goes back to if anybody has done the Atkins diet, which a lot of us did, if you think of each one of your fat cells as a little bank and they fill up and they start to overflow, the body will convert it into fat. So the whole idea behind the Atkins diet was, well, if I always keep my banks empty and I never put carbohydrates in, things will never get stored as fat. Well, we kind of take that to the nth degree and bad things begin happening. We start destroying our adrenal and thyroid function. And while we have that short-term body weight loss, in the long run, really didn't lose that fat. So what we want to try to do is to keep our glycogen stores filled just enough without going over the limit. So the big question is, well, how much is that? Well, that's very, very difficult to tell. But I personally like on my diet, approximately 40% of my diet being carbohydrates. So if somebody's eating a 2,000 calorie diet, you're looking at least 800 calories of that being carbohydrates in a given day. So a lot of people, that sounds a lot, but it's really not in the scheme of things. So, so also understand that while we've also been led to believe that protein and fat cannot be stored as fats in excess, it's absolutely wrong. Your body is an efficient machine, and it will convert these macronutrients into another macronutrient if needed. So in other words, if you eliminate carbohydrates from your diet and all you do is eat proteins and fats, they will be stored as fat. Okay, they will be converted into glucose and stored as fat in the long run. So anyway, any questions about that? Please, guys, if you have any questions as we're going, please ask. I want this to be as interactive as possible. Okay. So there's no questions. We'll move on here. So also understand that carbohydrates also preserve tissue in proteins. Again, Proteins are very, very vital in repairing muscle post-workout, but understand the primary fuel of those muscles is in fact carbohydrates. So when you're out there running, going to classes, or lifting weights, the primary fuel being used is carbohydrates. You will have awful workouts if you don't have carbohydrates. But the repair of those are going to be dependent upon proteins as well. And during that phase, again, if you think of those muscles like batteries, and during the exercise we're emptying out the bank and the batteries, we've got to refill those. Otherwise, you will feel very lethargic and tired. So again, it's a nice, slow, gradual deposit of carbohydrates back into the muscle, not a big pounding and then overflow later. So make sure a nice 40% of your diet or so back in. So again, like I said here, the chronic reduction of carbohydrates will decrease your energy levels over time, and you'll be very, very difficult to rebuild your muscles and become stronger. Preventing fatigue. So again, understand how much exercise or your job, it plays an enormous role in how many carbohydrates you're going to need. If you're like me and we're sitting behind a desk all day, we've got to reduce those carbohydrates. If you are in construction, if you are exercising your brains out, or you're a big runner, a cyclist, cross-country skiers, that's a tremendous amount of steady state activity. And as a result, you've got to replenish those carbohydrate stores. Absolute necessity. You will not be able to just pound protein shakes all day and be able to perform well. So you're going to have, so when I say 40%, you may have to adjust that based on your needs. And this is where, while all of this is science, there is a tremendous amount of art that goes into this. Your body, every one of us, when we put an oatmeal or rice into our mouths, it's going to chemically react differently. So what works for me will work for you. However, it needs to be adjusted based on your activity levels and so on. So that's where the art comes into it a little bit. So my opinion is start off on the low side. If you're starting to feel that lack of energy, increase it a little bit. Okay. So anyway, simple versus complex carbohydrates. So we got to understand there's a massive difference. All carbohydrates are not created equal. Again, complex carbohydrates or fibrous carbohydrates are very, very good for you, while the simples are not. So as we go through examples of simple carbohydrates, notice all these words end in "-ose". Okay, some of them are naturally occurring, like fructose and lactose, which is what you'll see in your fruits. A lot of the rest of these are made up. Man made them. So basically what we're putting into our bodies is this chemical that the body doesn't know how to break down and utilize. And as a result, the body then kind of stores it. And over the long run, we're starting to see a lot of cancers and things like this coming as a result. So we want to kind of eliminate these simple sugars. Again, I said it in my seminar that if man made it, don't eat it. All right. Even worse than those ones, high fructose, corn syrup, brown sugars, and raw sugars. Again, horrible, horrible, horrible. As a result of eating those, your blood sugar will rise significantly, and then we'll see your insulin elevate to push it back down. I'm going to touch on that a little bit more later. Examples of complex carbohydrates is obviously your wheat, your oat, rice, barley, rye. Again, some of these are not created equal as well, and I'm gonna go over the glycemic index here in a little bit, and you can kind of see where some of these things land on the glycemic index. Love to have more vegetables. Okay, these are very, very low on a glycemic index, and as a result, they don't have as big of an impact on your blood sugar or insulin. So eat as many as many vegetables as you can. You can almost not even count those toward your calories. They're so good for you. But when you think about complex carbohydrates, again, you're looking at your potatoes, vegetables, peas, beans, legumes, lentils, and so on. They are an amazing source of vitamins, minerals, and fibers. Now, fiber, we're going to actually, I'll hold off on that because I know we talk about it a little bit further down here. So I'll get to fiber in a minute. So highly refined carbohydrates. What happens again, in the body, and this is something that bodybuilders are experts at understanding. And if you guys can manipulate this, you can almost begin to cut out the counting of calories by keeping your foods clean. So highly refined sugars, what happens is they're very, very, very quickly absorbed into the bloodstream, broken down very quickly. You get an energy spike as a result. But what happens is the body then secretes insulin to bring that the blood sugar level back down into a nice harmony once again. But because your body loves that feeling, you start to have this craving to get that energy spike back up. So you start to get the sugar cravings, and it creates this never-ending cycle of increased insulin. Well, here's the really bad thing about insulin is that when your insulin is increased, your body cannot use fat as a fuel source. Okay, so the only thing that it can do is utilize the existing blood sugar free flowing through the bloodstream and protein. In other words, it will begin to break down your muscles in order to fuel this long activity. So it cannot use fat. That's bad. So if you think about it, if you spike your insulin at breakfast, you will be out of fat burning phase for the next several hours. 30 of your day is gone already, and you've burned no fat. Okay. The second thing is during elevated insulin, anything you eat during that time is immediately ushered into fat stores. So basically, every time your insulin rises, you will immediately get fatter with everything you eat. Your body will not utilize it as a fuel source. Okay, that's awful. Okay, obviously, really bad. Insulin resistance is a condition linked to heart disease. So if you look at people who have diabetes or any insulin issues, they're basically shaving years off their lives. There's a direct correlation to heart issues there. So, increases breast cancer by as much as 40%. Okay, so clearly I think we've demonstrated that making the right choices in carbohydrates is pretty important. All right, refined carbohydrates are very low in fiber, white flour and sugar. They have no fiber at all. Desserts, all these things, none at all. Okay, so what does fiber do for us? Fiber obviously assists in digestion. You want to shoot for between 20 to 30 grams per day. We're going to look at the FDA labels here on some packages here in a minute, so we can get an idea of where we see that. So this is a glycemic index. I'm not sure how many of you guys have heard of the glycemic index. To me, I wish it was something taught in schools so our kids can see this. But from left to right, we look at grains and starches. So obviously, there are things on this that are good. Now, you can actually begin to see here the things that are naturally occurring have lower glycemic index. We want to stay lower on the lower side if possible. So what that means, it's basically a measure of how quickly and how elevated our blood sugar will get, which is, again, directly related to how much insulin we're going to need to push it back down. So we want to stay low. So you look at that rice bran, for example, 27. That's a good number. All right. Now look at a bagel, 103. That's really bad. So if you think about that, which one is more naturally occurring, rice or a bagel? We don't see bagels growing on trees. We see rice naturally occurring. So again, Mother Nature put on this earth the things we should be eating in their proper states. Taco shells, 97. Oatmeal, while again, oatmeal is good for you, understand that you are trading off here. 87 is a pretty high number. But there are many oatmeals out there that do have fewer carbohydrates in them. I particularly like a product called Weight Control. They make a great oatmeal. Baked potatoes, 85. White rice, 64. So again, while we want to stay away from white, that's not horrible on the scheme of things, but you can get even better. Wild rice, brown rice are down in the 57 range, so we're getting better there. Looking at vegetables, wow, 15. It's not even close. So this is where I'm talking about. You can eat vegetables till you're blue in the face, and we're really not going to have a problem. Carrots are more on the high end of the vegetable family, but you just cannot go wrong with vegetables. So fruits, now they're high. And the reason why is because of the naturally occurring sugars we talked about earlier, the fructose and the lactose. Again, while naturally occurring, and while these things do pack a great punch as far as your health goes, They've got a lot of antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. The issue here is when it comes to weight loss, we do struggle a little bit to balance that blood sugar issue. So I'm a little shocked to find on this scale nothing that words in the word berry. So these, I think they're showing with watermelon, pineapple, mangoes, these things are high as bananas. May as well eat sugar. So what I would tell you, eat fruits, eat them in moderation, eat them coupled with a protein is the best way to go. But if you can eat more things that end in the word berry, so for example, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, those sorts of things, you're going to have a much better effect on the glycemic index. Those are all lower than those are. Dairy. So, a lot of people are going to say, Matt, dairy, that's a protein. I hear that all the time, or a fat. No, in fact, it has an enormous effect on the glycemic index, which means there's a lot of carbohydrates in it. So again, I think we look past the word carbohydrate and we forget to look at the words that end in OSE, OSE. And if you look at milk products, there's a tremendous amount of OSE in it. Okay, so it will have an effect on your blood sugar. So I'm not going to tell you not to consume milk or dairy. However, a bodybuilder would not touch it. Not even close. It's one of the first things they rip out of their diet when they're looking to diet. So again, if you're going to do it in moderation. Again, eat protein with it if you're going to do it. And now, again, I find this funny over here in the protein column. I personally am not a fan of calling beans and lentils and peanuts a good source of proteins. They're not, in my opinion. Those are all, peanuts are a source of fat. Peas and beans are sources of carbohydrates, which is clearly why they have an effect on the glycemic index. So something I always, when I coach people, is I tell them, stop looking at a food and telling me that it has multiple macronutrients. I want you to look at every one of them and decide, what is it going to be? Is it a fat, a protein, or a carbohydrate? But it can't be more than one of them. So again, that's why I tell people beans and peas, those are carbohydrates. Nuts are a fat. They're not good protein sources. You don't get a good amount of protein for the fat or carbohydrates that are in those items. So again, people tell me, I got enough protein at breakfast, I had low-fat yogurt. Again, my opinion, not a very good protein source to call it a protein. So take that for what it's worth. As you guys are working with your coaches and kind of putting the pieces together of getting to your 40-40-20 or 50-30-20 or whatever it is, make sure that these things do fit into your plan well. Not only for calories. Again, this is not about a calorie cutting thing. This is an enormous part of what you got to look at. You've got to look at macronutrients. Calories will take care of themselves. Actually, Kim and I today were looking at my diet. I started tracking what I was eating today, and I was going into my, I think, third or fourth meal, and I hadn't even gotten to 1,000 calories yet. And I was eating a lot of food because the food I was eating was so clean, and I was following this. So it's kind of interesting. I actually ate a couple extra snacks, and I'm going to eat again tonight because I'm just not eating enough calories. Don't we all wish we had that problem? So, but it's kind of interesting. I don't think people eat as much as they think. So this is a glycemic index of artificial sweeteners. This one is a huge wake-up call. Again, just start over here. All this stuff I can't even pronounce. My God, we don't want to eat it. This is awful. And I'm going to tell you, sugar's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, and we at least know what sugar does to our body. The big question with this stuff is, we know that, it has an effect on our blood sugar. We know that there are some artificial things that we've now created that doesn't even have an effect on our blood sugar. But I'm going to tell you what, I talked to a registered dietitian that I hold in high regard, and she says, Matt, I would rather everybody just eat sugar because we understand its effect on the body. Long-term, these chemicals, we don't even know long-term what they're going to do to us. These are relatively young in age, 10, 20, 15 years old. So we really don't have studies to show what will happen to somebody that stays on this stuff for 40, 50 years. I'm going to go on a limb and say it probably is going to cost, the big C word that we all want to avoid. But I tell you, this is stuff you want to stay away from as much as you possibly can. And I get it in today's world. We can't get away from it completely, but we want to try to best and just make better decisions here. So, so net impact of carbs. Again, carbohydrates 4 calories per gram because they're digested in the body with blood sugar. Some carbohydrates, such as sugar alcohols, they are digested. However, they're not turned into glucose. So in other words, we put those into a lot of artificial foods like protein bars and things like that to give them taste. And they're not turned into glucose. So what all the science will tell us, it therefore that does not increase our blood sugar. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but again, I get a little nervous about what the long-term effect of blood sugar is. I can also tell you that some people are not very tolerant to sugar alcohols. It can mess with your digestion a little bit. Some people will actually experience diarrhea. So your body may not be able to work with it. Again, anything you eat that's causing diarrhea and really cramping and so on, probably not good for you. I'm going to go out on a limb on that one too. Carbohydrates, such as fiber, can impact as little as 0 calories per gram and are not digested and pass through the body as waste. So the funny question is, well, why would I eat fiber? Why is fiber so important to me? Again, it's a digestive, it really assists in your digestion, helps break down, clean out your body, and so on. In either of these cases, they won't have that big of effect on blood sugars. Now, as far as nutrition facts here, I'm not going to touch on this whole thing. I'm just going to touch on the carbohydrate. So on the carbs, we got 31 grams in this example, 0 dietary fibers. Okay, that's bad. We want to try to get that fiber up as high as we can, keep our sugars as low as possible. So, again, 5 grams, not horrible here, but we want to increase that increase the fiber. Also, try to pay attention to looking for things like the OS words as much as you can to eliminate those as much as we possibly can. Again, choose carbohydrates that are high in fiber, whole wheat, whole bran, beans, things like that. Things that are naturally occurring. Vegetables have a ton of fiber. Watch our portion sizes. They're very, very important as well. Again, eat things that are naturally occurring. So I just looked up at my little thing here, and I'm realizing that I don't have a ton of time left in this meeting. Apparently, I'm limited. So the last thing I want to touch on really quick is tomorrow. We're starting this off. You guys should all have these by now, I'm hoping. Okay, your fiber and your herbal cleanse. Very, very easy. Just mix your fiber pack with water. Drink that in the morning. If you do feel a little bit somebody's jamming. So. Anyway, so if on these packs here, it says right on the back says whether you're taking it in the morning or the evening. The probiotic restores in the AM. Take that before breakfast on an empty stomach, and then take your herbal cleanse packets in the evening. Pretty darn simple. Okay. Hydration is going to be huge here. We've got to make sure you're drinking enough water through this cleanse to filter stuff out. All right. I know that, again, if you're not regular and you do have some digestive issues, just keep drinking more water. The other thing you can do is cut the fiber pack in half and spread it out over the day if necessary until your body becomes accustomed to it. But you will not be running to the bathroom. It's a very gentle cleanse, so don't worry about that. The other thing, if you guys are not very regular and you do need a little help, Omegaplex, or if you guys are on any omega-3s that you like, be sure that you take that. It will help kind of eliminate things through the digestive tract and speed things up. And one other thing I do like, the Avo Greens. Some people I know on this challenge are on this instead of the herbal cleanse. I love this. Great way to get more vegetables. I don't eat enough vegetables. There's lemon and chocolate flavored ones. It's awesome. So I only have a couple minutes left before this thing kicks me off. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free. Anyone? I'm not sure if I can hear everyone or not. So.
I did have one question. If you don't have the meal replacement shake, is it okay to eat like oatmeal or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't have the meal replacements, again, you do have the nutrition guidebook. I would refer back to that for some ideas for breakfast. So again, when you say oatmeal, though, one of the things you really have to look at is balance. We need a balance of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So I really would rather you not just have carbohydrates at breakfast. So if you're going to eat that oatmeal, which is great, be sure to try to add some protein that either through eggs, protein shakes, some source of cottage cheese or, anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, it's Kristen. Hey, I have a question for you. I'm having a hard time with like lunches and stuff like that. I need something that's like quick and on the go. Is there a smoothie recipe or anything that I could possibly use to make for lunches?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And that's one of the topics we'll probably talk about is the grab and go meal, something that's quick. Obviously, we're in a fast-paced society, so we definitely need that. So I see Kim feverishly writing. So I'm not sure. Who asked me that question?
It's Kristen.
All right, Kristen. Yeah, I'll tell you what, because we only have a minute left, it's going to kick me off. I will make sure that your coach follows up with you tomorrow on that. We do have a lot of good ideas in the nutrition guidebook, but we'll definitely follow up with you and get you some ideas on that tomorrow.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
All right, guys. Hey, well, yeah.
Remind them to drink their water.
Yes, drink water.
Lots of it.
Lots of it. All right, guys, please, if you have any questions whatsoever, throw it on the Facebook page, engage the community, and come ask your coaches if you have anything else. So, again, congratulations on taking the first step, guys, and I look forward to working with you and having all the success. Thanks, everyone.
Good luck, guys. Thank you.